my channel. If you're new, my name is Christina and today is another round of the Mystery Box Challenge. I'm sure most of you have heard of the Mystery Box Challenge, but if you haven't, it was created by Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap. She gets a group of us DIYers together here on YouTube. We're each assigned another person from that group that we have to send a box of 10 crafting items to. 2 of those items have to be challenge items, and then there's also a guest host, a theme, and a twist in every round. The guest host that we have this time is Kelly Barlow from Kelly Barlow Creations, and the theme that she chose was tiered trays. And then for the twist, we have to create everything in mini form. And then she also assigned each one of us a theme this time, and the theme that she chose for me is leaves. The box that I'm going to be opening up here today is from Whitney over at Whiskey and Wit, and then I sent my box over to Emily at Farm Charm Chic. And I'm super excited to open the box that Whitney sent me. Hopefully she was nice. So let's go ahead and open it now. I've opened up the box, and the first thing I see on top here is this card that says Christina. And it's super cute. Look how adorable. It has all of these colored pencils and a heart. I love it. And it says, "Dear Christina, happy fall. I enjoyed all the fall colors I found for this box. So pumped to watch your video to see what you'll make. Your fabric around the challenge items is your final DIY item. Best of luck with your move. Love, Whitney." Oh, thank you, Whitney. I don't know if any of you know this yet, but I'm actually in the middle of a move. We just sold our house, and within like the next 2 weeks, we will be moving into our new home. So things have been very busy around here. All right, now that I'm getting into the box, she has everything wrapped up pretty well. So I'm gonna start taking this off. Make sure there's nothing in there that I'm missing. All right, so we have challenge item number 2. So I'm gonna set this one aside. And then this one says challenge item number 1. So I'm gonna set that aside. And I'm looking at the fabric, very pretty, nice fall colors. We have some fall stems, so pretty. Thank you, Whitney. I love the colors on these. And then we have, it says oven bake clay from the bake shop. I've actually started working with clay recently, so this will be really fun. I can't wait. Let's see. This is enamel glass paint in pearl white. Always nice to have paint, and I actually don't think I have any for glass, so that'll be nice to have. We've got some of these little leaf picks. What are these? Bamboo skewers. I always just take the skewers off and use these, and these are perfect for the mini items or mini DIYs that I have to create. Let's see. Oh, okay. It looks like she sent a few different colors in the clay. Oh, these are perfect. We have a brown, orange, and a yellow. Perfect fall colors. All right, some ribbon. Oh my gosh, Whitney, you are being so nice. Beautiful fall colors. We have some yarn from Yarn Bee, which is great yarn, and it's brown. Another really good crafting item. And then what do we have here? She's got it in some bubble wrap. Oh, it's just like a little jar here. Always good to have these to craft. All right, I think that's everything. Okay, that's everything but the challenge items. You're super nice to me, Whitney. I'm hoping I don't have to be scared for these next 2 items. All right, let's open challenge item number 1 first. And can I just say, this fabric is so pretty. I'm really excited for this. I love using fabric when I'm crafting. Okay. I mean, back to school season is in. She has sent me a manual pencil sharpener. Okay. this should be okay. I'm not too scared. It might take me a while to think on what to do with it. Actually, I think I already have an idea. So hopefully my idea will work. Next is challenge item number 2. Hang on. Okay, I think I know what this is. And if I'm right, I hope they're not too bad. Are these sponges? Let's see. I'm right, they are sponges. And they are like veggie sponges. Okay. Oh man, I kind of wish they were like shaped like fall things, like a pumpkin or something. That would be way easier, but this is a challenge item after all. This might also be hard, I'm not sure. I'll have to think about it. I do have time. I opened my box a little early. Since we are moving, I wanted to be sure that I had time to get this finished because we're moving the few days right before this video is due. So we'll see. That was everything in the box. Thank you, Whitney, for being so nice to me. The 2 challenge items might be a little bit tricky, but I think that I'll be okay. I'm super excited to get crafting, so let's go ahead and get started. For the first DIY in today's video, I'm going to be starting with one of these cork adhesive sheets from Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to be using 4 of these unfinished wood maple leaves, also from Dollar Tree. I'm then cutting the adhesive sheets down so that they will fit to go along the back side of each one of my leaves. Next, I'm attaching the adhesive side of the cork sheet on the back side of my wood leaf. I'm then just using some scissors to cut down some of that overlapping cork sheet as much as I can. And then for whatever is remaining, I ended up using some just sandpaper to sand away the edges or the overlap of the cork so that it is then flush with my wood leaf. After I have the cork side of my leaf all finished, I'm then going to be adding some of this fabric that Whitney sent in my box. I'm going to be placing that on the front side of the leaf. But first, I just cut a square so that it will cover the entire front side of the leaf. I'm applying some Mod Podge to the wood of the leaf and then pressing that square piece of fabric over top. I ended up going back in with some Mod Podge and applying that right on top of the fabric and then letting that completely dry. So once it's dry, I then cut the excess fabric as close as I could to the leaf. And then to get it nice and smooth around all of the edges, I went in with some sandpaper and sanded the fabric right away. Then to make sure that the edges stayed sealed down, I went in with another layer of Mod Podge. I ended up doing 2 of that floral fabric that Whitney sent and then 2 in this orange colored fabric that she sent. And this is what my fall maple leaf coasters look like all finished. They were super fun to make and I love how they turned out. Next up is DIY number 2. For this project, I'm starting out with this 3x3 unfinished wood square, and then I'm painting it with some white chalk paint. Then I'm going to be using 4 of these scrap balsa wood pieces that I had in my craft stash. I'm just marking off where I need to cut them down and then just simply cutting them with some scissors. These are going to be a frame to go around all 4 sides of my square. I'm staining them with some walnut wood tint from Folk Art, and then I'm just going to be attaching them using some hot glue around all 4 sides. I'm also going to be using these unfinished wood letters from Hobby Lobby to spell out the words hello and fall. I'm painting all of the letters with this yellow mustard colored paint, and then I'm hot gluing all of the letters down in the center of my square. I then wanted to add some detail around all of the sides of my frame. So I'm using this orange ribbon that Whitney sent in my box and just hot gluing that around all of the edges. I added a raffia bow in the top left-hand corner, and then I'm using 2 of these yellow leaves that Whitney sent in my box. I just pulled them off of their skewers, and then I'm using 1 in the center of my bow and 1 in the bottom left-hand corner. I ended up adding 2 wooden buttons on the left and right corners just for some added detail. This is what the sign looks like all finished. I think it's really cute and it's gonna go perfect on my tiered tray. Now moving into DIY number 3. For this project, I'm going to be using the glass bottle that Whitney sent along with the glass pearl colored acrylic paint that she sent. I started by just applying the paint with a regular paintbrush, but it was pretty thin, so I ended up just using one of my sponge brushes to dab the paint on. I did a few different coats and I really loved the texture that the sponge left. So once it was all dry, I ended up adding some of these dried, like orange color leaves, stems. They are from Michael's this year, and I just hot glued them around the entire bottle. So once I have them on, I wanted to add some detail. So here I'm using some of this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. I cut it down a little bit so that it was thinner, and then just hot glued it around the center of my bottle. Then I thought it would be really cute to add a little bit of that brown ribbon that she sent in my box. So I wrapped it around the center a couple of times and then added a really cute bow in the front. And since my theme is leaves, I went ahead and added one of these yellow leaves that Whitney sent right in the center of my bow. And then I wanted to add some more of the brown ribbon to the top, so I just added a couple strands and tied that around the top of the bottle. And then I wanted to make this a candle holder, so I have one of these gold candle sticks from Dollar Tree. They're super flimsy, but I just wiggled it back and forth a couple of times and the top just popped right off. So for this, I'm just going to add it to the top of my bottle, and then I placed a candle in the very top of it. This candle holder is a little different, but I think it turned out great. It was really easy to do, and I can't wait to use it on my tiered tray, and you'll see everything put together later on at the end of the video. Next is DIY number 4. For this project, I started with one of these square canvases from Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to be removing the entire canvas from its frame. I'm then using some of my walnut wood tint to stain the entire frame. I'm also going to be using some of this cream color fabric that I had in my craft stash, and I'm going to be using this maple leaf stencil that I also had in my stash. It was just the perfect size that I needed. So I'm placing it down onto the fabric, and then I am just going to be using a marker to outline the leaf. So once I have that outlined, I'm then going to be placing the leaf right in the center of my embroidery hoop because I'm going to be sewing around the outline of that leaf. And I'm going to be using that brown yarn that Whitney sent in my box to do it. So just a really simple stitch all the way around the entire leaf. I removed my fabric from my embroidery hoop, and now I needed to cut down my fabric a little bit so that it will fit inside of my square frame. So after I've had it all cut down, I'm just going to be using some hot glue along the back side to attach that fabric to the back of the frame. Then to add some detail, I'm using some hot glue to attach some scrap raffia that I had on the center of all 4 sides of my frame. For another little detail on this piece, I'm taking a scrap piece of balsa wood that I had and I'm painting it a burgundy color, and then I'm going to be adding some of these gold letter beads to spell out the word autumn, and I'm using hot glue to attach them in the center of my piece of balsa wood. And then I didn't realize it, but my camera died. So I ended up adding the autumn piece in the left-hand corner, and then I added 4 wood buttons on all 4 corners. This is what the piece looks like all finished. I loved this one because I don't normally sew, and it gave me a chance to add some sewing into one of my projects. Moving right into the 5th DIY for today, I'm going to be using the oven baked clay that Whitney sent in my box. I'm going to be using the orange color and then also the yellow color that she sent. Thought it would be really cool to combine both colors and give my piece a marbled look. So here I'm just mushing the two colors together, and then once I have it to where I like it, I'm just pressing it out and using my mini rolling pin here to roll out the clay to the size that I need. Next, I'm going to be using one of these maple leaves that I went and picked off of a tree in my backyard. I'm going to be placing it on my clay where the front of the leaf will be sitting on the clay. I'm then going to be just pressing it down to where it's smooth on my clay, and then I'm going to be taking my rolling pin once again and then just really pushing that leaf into the clay so that all of the markings that are on the leaf are going to be in the clay. I'm then taking a utility knife and cutting the clay from around the leaf, and then once I have that done, I'm going to be removing the leaf from the top of my clay. Now, I did bake my clay, just like it says on the package, at 275 degrees for 15 minutes. And then when it was still hot, I placed my leaf in a bowl so that it would have a curved shape to it. Here is the leaf dish all finished. I ended up placing a few of my rings in it, and I just had so much fun making this one, and I really love how the two colors are marbled together. Next up is DIY number 6. For this project, I'm going to be starting with some of those fall stems that Whitney sent in my box, and I'm just going to be using some pliers to cut one of the stems off, and then I'm just picking off all of the leaves from that stem. After I have all of the leaves removed, I'm then going to be just taking this leftover branch and forming it into a circle because I'm going to be creating a mini wreath. So to tie the two ends together, I did end up using some of that brown yarn that Whitney sent in my box to just make sure that they were nice and secure. So for the leaves that I'm going to be using, I found these ones from Hobby Lobby. I just love the colors, and the leaves are the perfect size to create a mini wreath. So I just cut a few of the stems off, and then I'm just going to be kind of shaping those into a curve so that they go nicely around my wreath form here. And to attach them, I just used hot glue and glued them all the way around my circle. Then I had this mini word cutout that says thankful. I just thought it would be perfect to place in the center of my wreath, so I used some hot glue on each side and attached it right in the center. And here is the mini wreath all finished. It was super easy to do, and this is the perfect size to place on my tiered tray that I'll be showing you guys all put together later on. Next, we have DIY number 7. For this project, I'm using one of these arched acrylic pieces. This I got in a pack at Hobby Lobby, and the first thing I did was just remove the plastic film that's on the front and back of the piece. And then I'm going in with that glass paint that Whitney sent, and I first started to just paint it on with a paintbrush, and it was just really streaky and did not look very well. So I had the idea that I did need to use those sponges that she sent, so I just cut a piece off, and then I'm just using it to dab on this acrylic paint, and I ended up really loving the texture that it gave. I did a few coats of that paint, and it looked perfect. I did need to add a base to this piece, so what I ended up doing was using 2 scrap wood pieces from my stash, and I'm just going to have it go on each side of the arched piece and hold it up. So here I'm just measuring and marking off where I need to cut it down a little bit, and then just cutting those wood pieces down to size. And then I wanted them to be a gold color, and I really love this antique gold from Rub and Buff, so I just put it on a fluffy brush and applied it to both wood pieces. Then I'm going to be using the stencil that I also had in my stash. I really loved this maple leaf on the stencil, so I'm placing it right in the center of that arched piece, taping it down, and then I went in with that antique gold Rub and Buff once again and just used that sponge that she sent to apply the Rub and Buff to the leaf. I then removed the stencil, and then to create my base, I'm just going to be hot gluing those wood pieces to the back of my arch and then also to the front of my arch, and then it just makes it stand up really nicely. So I had this wood cutout that says thankful. It's mini and the perfect size, so I'm going to be using it for this project. Yes, it did break, but I'll be gluing it back together. I stained it, and then I'm just attaching it with some hot glue to the bottom right hand side of my arch piece. And then for the last step, I'm using some of that antique gold rub and buff once again on the same sponge, and I'm just going to be applying it all the way around the edges of my arch. And this is what the piece looks like all finished. I think it is so pretty, and it is the perfect size for a tiered tray. Moving right into DIY number 8. For this project, I'm starting with this unfinished wood mini candlestick from Hobby Lobby, and I wanted to remove the metal piece at the top. Normally, these are really easy to get out, but this one was not. So I just had to work all the way around and kind of cut that down so that it would sit flat on top. And then once that was done, I went in with my walnut wood tint and stained the wood on the candlestick. Then I'm going to be attaching this metal circle piece that I had in my craft stash. I'm just going to be using some hot glue to attach it to the top of my candlestick, and I just flipped it over to make sure that it was completely centered when I glued it on. So remember those stems that she sent? Well, I'm going to be using these small leaves from the stem, and I'm going to be attaching them to the outside of my circle tin piece here. And as you can see, when I'm gluing the pieces on, I am overlapping them each time I attach one. So I did that all the way around my circle, and then to add a little bit of detail, I have this like yellow colored raffia from my stash. I'm just going to be attaching it right in the center of all of those leaves and hot gluing it to secure it down. I ended up creating a really tiny raffia bow and attaching it to the front of my piece, and then a small wooden button I added to the center of my bow. And this is the piece all finished. I ended up adding a cute little pumpkin to it, and I just think this is such a fun, cute little piece to add to a fall tiered tray. Now we are moving into DIY number 9. For this project, I'm starting with this mini wooden framed piece from Hobby Lobby. I'm taking the backing out of the frame, and then I'm using some of my walnut wood tint to stain the frame. Now, this is kind of like a kindergarten craft, or one that you could do with a little one. But for this, I'm just sketching out a tree right in the center of my wood backing piece. And then once I have it sketched on, I went back in with some brown paint and painted my tree. Now, this was kind of hard. At first I was like, oh, I'll do a pumpkin with this pencil sharpener that Whitney sent me. But then I realized, oh, I have to stick with the leaves theme. So for this one, I'm taking some colored pencils like in red, orange, and yellow, and I'm sharpening them with the pencil sharpener that she sent me because I'm going to be using the pencil sharpened colored shavings to make the leaves on my tree. So you can see I used some Mod Podge, and I'm placing it on the ends of my tree branches, and then with those shavings I'm then just going to be sprinkling them over top of the Mod Podge to create some fall colored leaves on my tree. So I did that over and over again with the different colors, the orange, the red, and the yellow, and this was actually really fun to do. I wouldn't say it's like the best home decor piece that you would want to put in your house, but if you did it with your kids or grandkids, it would be really fun, and I do think it is turning out pretty cute. I ended up adding some leaves to the bottom of the tree, so it looks like leaves have fallen on the ground, and then I just placed everything back together. But I did need this piece to stand up, so I took 3 of the towering tumbling blocks from Dollar Tree. I hot glued them together, and then I hot glued that to the back of my picture so that it would stand up nicely. This is what it looks like all finished. I think it turned out pretty cute. I had no idea what to do with the pencil sharpener, and this is the best I could come up with. Next, we have the 10th and final DIY in today's video. So I'm going to be starting with these wooden mini banner pieces. These are from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to be using the ones that have the and symbol and the hearts, and I'm just flipping them over so that they are plain. I'm then going to be painting 3 of them with this mustard yellow color and then 2 of them with a burgundy colored paint. I'm then going to be using these wooden letter banner pieces that I had in my stash to spell out the word leaves, and then I'm incorporating some of those mini leaves that Whitney sent in my box. I'm removing the picks from them, and I'm using some orange and yellow ones. The orange ones I'm hot gluing in the center of the yellow banner pieces, and then the yellow ones I'm hot gluing in the center of the burgundy banner pieces. I'm then going to be taking some of that brown yarn that she sent in my box, and I'm going to be using that to string my banner all together. So I started with the letter, then I did the leaf banner piece, then another letter, then another banner piece, and so on until I have my entire banner made. And here is the leaves banner all finished. I ended up placing it on the front of my tiered tray, and I think it is just such a cute little piece. I had so much fun creating all of these DIYs, and I loved the theme that Kelly had for this time. I put everything together on my tiered tray so that you guys can see what everything looks like all put together, and I just think it is so pretty. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you will consider subscribing. And don't forget to go and click on the playlist down in my description box so that you can check out everybody's videos that are in today's mystery box challenge. And I do want to thank you guys so much for watching.